Um, so, Smart Justice is a community response to some real problems in the criminal justice system. And I think that's one thing everyone agrees on, actually, no matter conservative, liberal, faith, not faith, whatever. It's totally broken. The question really is, should we try to do anything about it, and what should that be? And realize that our current approach isn't really effective. And so one of the biggest problems in the jail is that people there tend to be mentally ill. That's the vast majority of people there. So Smart Justice said, we now have, we have about 30 years of really solid data on what works with people who break the law to make them less likely to break the law again. And it's nonpartisan. It's an independent think tank over in Olympia called the Washington Public Policy Institute. A lot of data, so we know what works and what doesn't work now. And the challenge is we spend 70% of our county budget, 70% of the entire budget is on public safety. About 45 million of that is just operating the 2 jails that we have. And so, and we know that there are programs, and in fact the people in the criminal justice system say there's programs that work, drug court, mental health court, but they don't have money to do it because they're spending the money the other way. And so Smart Justice is really about trying to reallocate those resources and build a political coalition really from the ground up and engage everyone and say, hey, we have to make the change. At some point you have to make the change. Based on evidence, is it going to make it safer for us as people? And is it going to be cost effective? And so whatever you want to do, if you want to put more money in officers on the street, put more money in jail cells, more money in treatment, more money on education, whatever you're going to do, put it through that lens. And if we can agree that that's the lens, instead of the perception of sometimes pork barrel projects, which some people think the big jail proposal is, then we think we'll be fine. And the thing that's a little bit unique about Smart Justice is that it's designed not to be partisan in terms either of political parties, but even between social justice advocates and law and order. It's saying there is common ground. We can all agree we need to spend our money that will keep us safer, reduce crime, change lives, and be more effective. So that's what the Smart Justice campaign is about. And some of those programs are, I've got them kind of classified in 3 things. Some real simple, low-hanging fruit that just reduces the number of people in the jail, regardless of whether it changes their behavior. It keeps us safe while they're going through the system. Then there's a second level, which is a kind of a therapeutic court model, drug court, mental health court, domestic violence court. I'll get to that. And then the third level is really actually making changes in people's lives, making sure that they have adequate housing, health care, job training, things like that that either keep them from going there in the first place or can help them get out. There are probably well over 100 people who are nonviolent, who safely could be out of the jail every day.
How many?
Well over 100 people. I mean, and again, you want someone with expertise in criminal justice over who's safe or not on home monitoring. But you have to put in the resources to have home monitoring and the systems. And you need oversight. The other thing about it that's really nice now, technology-wise, if the person has an alcohol problem, they have a sensor on the bracelet that can determine whether or not they're using alcohol immediately. And if they've got another kind of substance abuse problem, you can have them do random drug testing, again, which costs maybe $40 a shot to do, but again, at that 100, you do that once a week, you're fine. So that's a huge shift, but it's millions of dollars a year, just on that. Another simple one like that is about 30% of the people in the jail are there because the judge released them the first time, but then they missed one of their 5 court hearings before their case was over. And then the judge says, well, you got to stay in jail. So there have been some model programs around the country where they plug in people's cell numbers when they get arrested, and then they just get a text that says, hey, you got court tomorrow at 11. Just a computer does it. Now, they still may miss, but it won't be because they didn't know or they forgot. And with so many court hearings, that happens all the time. Just why our dentists call us to remind us. And again, this costs so little to implement, and the estimate is that it saves thousands of dollars every failure to appear that it prevents. Drug court, mental health court, domestic violence court, veterans court, drunk driving court. But they have these courts, they work. They cost money, they're intensive. What happens basically is people basically say, yeah, I did it, I've got a problem. I agree to go to this diversion program, and the judge provides the legal accountability for it. And it usually lasts a year or maybe even 2 years. But if they get through it, the charges go away like they never happened. And they're hopefully on to good things. And it doesn't mean they don't relapse, make mistakes. That's part of the diseases that they're suffering. So, but the court looks at it a little more proactively as far as what they need. That gospel of assessment is coming from the criminal justice system, not from the social justice people. But they don't have money and they don't have the construct to do that. Now, but if you do that, the recidivism rate for people who go through those kinds of assessments and intensive programs is just minuscule compared to the people that go to jail and prison. Just minuscule. It's just proven. It just works. It's cheaper. It works. But we're not doing it. Then the final tier on really, if you really want to shrink the people in jail and prison in our system and the cost, is you got to do things like housing and education. You look at someone who's, and even someone in the chronic alcoholic street person, they have a room that's their room that they can go to. The crime rate for them just goes down. They may not stop drinking, they may not stop having problems, but they're not committing crimes.
Right.
And the same if they've got basic education, basic employment for people who are able to be employed. You do those things and it's great. Right now we have the opposite. If you've got a prison record, they can exclude you from all those housing options. They can exclude you from financial aid. And employers can exclude you from work legally. So we do exactly that. I mean, these people need it the most, and they get it the least.
Yeah.
And we pay the price, both if we're victims. So we're trying to spread their word. Go to that website, spread those links, tell people there is hope for real change. And Lonnie mentioned we have 12 white papers for different programs that has all the statistical basis, how it works, where it's working, how big it is in Spokane if it is. So we're pretty far along, and now we just got to get people to say, yes, we're going to shift money from this way to do it to that this way.